Richard Morton here. What I've been working on lately is the residual energies in our nervous system because we have events that have long passed. We have long-standing engagements with people that may have been very traumatic at the time and said, yeah, this is in the past. But all these events, everything there has residual energy in your nervous system. So it still has impact. And something I thought today is this residual energy still has trajectory in your life because it's still bubbling underneath the surface of these little tension moments that show up, or a sense of why we don't feel safe in situations. We all know that to an extent that are in this work, but it has a much deeper impact that is ongoing than we realize because of its longevity and because of the depth of what it is in your nervous system, because the thoughts are there and the energy's there and the unconscious layers of pain and guilt and shame are still there. And we really don't have, to my awareness, the effective ways of clearing that. So it's looking at that, and we don't think of it because we've been told to just move on, just get over it, just get on with your damn life, because that's what we did. And they amplified this during the wars, because after the war, every soldier was just left hung out to dry, to live their life. And most of your homeless in the US is military vets, because of their destruction. And who knows? And as so all this again has impact in our daily life, in our conscious thought process and how we are. And sometimes I say, what is your conscious awareness? What's going through your mind 90% of the time and you're not aware of it? Is it strife, conflict, tension? For most people, yeah. It's some sort of discord that we consciously are building. So that thought process is running in our energy system, and it's running in our fields of attraction. And when we again think we're just moving on and or distracting ourselves, we're not resolving. And this is not about digging up the past. This is not about having to go through and trench out all your strife and pain. It's present time of having clarity of this. And do you want to have some resolution, that you have a more gentle thoughts, more compassionate thoughts, and more thoughts where you have the choice, where you think you're going to think of something that could be negative, and you catch yourself, no, I'm not going there. And that's a powerful force when you realize that of old patterns you suddenly recognize, and it shows up in a way of, and you choose, no, I'm not moving into that pattern right now. I don't feel like it. It's not beneficial. And it's the subtleties, but the life is filled with subtleties. Relationships are 1,000 subtleties. Our communication, our connection to our friends and family are 10,000 subtleties. They aren't the big overtures of the big birthday parties and all the things we've been grandiose about. There are 1,000 subtleties of how you walk in a room, how you greet your partner, how you greet your kids, how do you say hi to people. Is it gentle? Is it, hey, how's it going? Is it of interest? Is it with love? Or is it harsh and demeaning? And oftentimes those patterns are what we grew up with, is what we carry and what we display, and don't realize why we create tension, because we're creating tension with ourselves and how we behave, how we interact. And so much of this is what our society is filled with. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust people. We don't feel safe. So again, you talk about the mask and all the mask performance, but underneath this, as I said, who the hell are you when you're at home alone looking in the mirror? And I'm going to be sarcastic in a way. When people talk about meeting somebody, I want to know who you are at your worst day. Anybody can put their best on. I want to know who you are when the shit hits the fan, and let you find out who I am when the shit hits the fan, because there's some semblance of that who's going to show up in your daily life. That's who we really are underneath. When we get mad or upset, there's a semblance of that that's going to be running around underneath it all. How are we going to be in the average daily life? And that's who we are to our friends, to our family.
Mm.
So let's see if we can raise that frequency up. So you can look at yourself and say, I'm happier with me. It's not about the world. I'm happier with me inside me. That's what's important.
Yeah. I really love that. Our scene this month is confidence. So, I've got this in the back of my mind always. And for me, confidence isn't set in who I am necessarily in the moment. It's also part of who I want to be, who I am becoming, or who I'm
Yeah.
allowing myself to become, so that I'm not stuck in those patterns. Because as soon as I recognize those patterns, I am empowered to take take choice, if I can put it that way, instead of take charge. But you were saying now, um, what were you calling that? Residual?
This residual energy still has what I call trajectory in your life. I actually did a quick search on it
Yeah.
because it still has ways it shows up, has
Mm.
impact in so much of your behaviors, you know,
And that's not even just, how do I put it? Nervous system. That's where you
Mhm.
triggered me on
Right.
our nervous system.
Too bad. So sad.
Not triggered in a bad way. Reminded me of, kind of how we can um I keep wanting to say take charge, but move into the power that we have to not fall victim to these residual energies because they're not necessarily ours. Um, and in this time, our nervous systems are by design shot completely.
Mhm.
There's complete overwhelm. Then, information is like, how can this happen to people? Just by being in this world at the moment, our our nervous systems need recharging, if I can say it like that. There's a energy drain that I feel is happening that isn't necessarily ours. Or
Mhm.
yeah, if that makes any sense.
Yes, but you said that you create not just take charge, but you create choices. You said you
Yeah.
have choices. And what this does is, and when I realized as I said it too, this gives us a pause. This is vital in the sense of our emotional flexibility. When we have that awareness, when we looked at this residual and been able to clear some of it, and that's obviously with time sweeps and that we do this.
Mm,
We clear this residual because we're now aware of. We can't clear what we don't know. When we're noticed, we know we have awareness. We can clear it
mm,
and create that pause of a thought process that you used to default to, and you have awareness like, oh, because that's also a trigger. And we have that awareness. I call it the 3 second pause. And suddenly, because somebody says something in this old pattern that normally would come up and we're aware, we're like, oh boy, now we have choice and we
mm,
have response. Big difference than reaction.
yeah.
We want to have a world where we have response. Now we can, and we're responsible, have responsibility of ourselves to create a response that is empowering for us, not just a retaliation. Huge difference.
Mm, mhm.
When someone love and people that trigger us and irritate the most are the people we love the most, our partners.
Yeah.
We can
Our
irritate the
children.
daylights out of each other and trigger ourselves and you walk away and like, why does this bug me so much? Little
Yeah.
things like that, and it irks you, but sometimes you just like, it's like, oh, you get like this, right? So it's understanding the nuance of that when the person does that, and eventually their behavior stops because our energy is allowing their behavior to trigger us, to initiate it. When we
Yeah.
change these little frequencies, the other person stops doing what they were doing because there's no energy there in their energy system to remind them.
Mm,
So we have a better dialogue. We have a more capable dialogue, a more intelligent and fulfilling dialogue. And oftentimes when people are discussing things like we travel and move around, and it's a very equitable discussion, but sometimes it gets, you can get tense. Well, we looked about that, or we talked about that, right? We get into these tension moments. And when that doesn't happen, you walk away from a dialogue going, yeah, that was cool. And you can create this, you look at a lot of your dialogues that have tension.
mm,
There's residual energy somewhere in your nervous system that's bubbling along that has trajectory. And if you were to map these out, I said, this is stuff we can work on because this is a powerful for us to find some peace in our life, that we can generate ourselves more peace in our life, but understand where the disconnection or discord comes from.
Mm.
And in a sense, you'll see yourself doing more things. Since I've been working this the last 2 weeks on this residual stuff, I suddenly found myself in little ways more organized,
Yeah.
more follow through, more memory capacity of little details before that I was not having clarity on. So it's given me a more cognitive process just doing these little simple exercises that I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm pleased with my effort that I'm looking, these little things are simpler for me instead of being points of frustration where I just eventually just push them aside.
Mm.
So we have great capacity to do things, but it's recognizing where the tension is coming from. And it's not, again, it's not massively deep work to do this. It's just little consistencies that
Mm.
allow us to process and have clarity. Because ultimately, day, as I said, when you look in a mirror, they're just you. And when you leave this world, it's just you. So prepare yourself if you choose.
Thank you.